It's Womanless Munch Out Time! How you guys doing today? Happy Womanless Munch Out Time. We were just here, for those of you guys who were live with us, we got a phone call by a very annoying company, and they got through the Do Not Disturb, which is pretty wild. It's back on Do Not Disturb. We hope they don't call and ruin this video too, but it basically destroys the video if someone calls. Anyway, so what do we got in this fantastic bowl here? This delicious looking yummy. Doesn't look so great, right? But it is great. It tastes great, and it's great for you. We got pasture-raised eggs, and we got cod, and we got grass-fed butter poured over it. And we left the yolk running. We didn't want to destroy the valuable compounds in the yolk, from fat-soluble vitamins and vitamin D and choline and omega-3s and all sorts of other things, right? B vitamins and the iodine and the iron. So what's so good about these? You know, why do we have these? How can you kind of balance a day around a meal like this, and really how much do we have here? Okay, there's a massive bowl to give you an idea. So this is more than it looks like, and I've already eaten some because I want to eat it while it's hot. Okay? But they both have, cod and the eggs, pasture-raised eggs, because they have a 1-to-1 ratio of omega-6s to omega-3s. We don't want higher omega-6s to omega-3s. Why? It's pro-inflammatory, and a major driver of disease is inflammation, at least associated with near every chronic disease. And so we definitely want a more natural ratio of omega-6 to omega-3. What is the ratio in eggs that come from hens that are traditionally grain-fed, with the cheap eggs, right? The crappy eggs. 19-to-1. 19-to-1. That is not natural. That's not what we want. So a lot better in that regard are pasture-raised eggs than regular eggs. They have also 2 times the amount of omega-3s, 3 times the amount of vitamin E. They have more vitamin D. They have 7 times the amount of beta-carotene. They are a whole lot better. So in general, is cod the most nutritious fish? Well, maybe not. Maybe salmon would probably be up there, right? But cod is still great, and it's good to switch up the types of fish that you eat. Typically going with smaller fish so that you have less mercury, right? If you're going to eat tons of seafood all the time. And the cod is a relatively smaller fish, so we're not looking at really high amounts of mercury here. The same thing goes for something like salmon. Okay? And both the eggs and the cod are rich in protein, and that's obviously huge for our bones. That's huge for our muscles, is what we all probably typically think of. Boosting metabolism, burning fat, number one thing that helps us to burn fat. For joint health, tendons, ligaments, you name it, it's important to have ample amounts of protein from natural sources every day. We aim for our body weight in grams to 120% of our body weight in grams to support lean muscle mass and optimal fat burning, right? So we got the protein. We got omega-3s in both of these foods, right? Typically we talk about salmon, mackerel, tuna, herring, sardines, anchovies, things like that in terms of the fish world with omega-3s, but cod also has a decent amount of omega-3s, right? So it's okay to switch it up, and I think it tastes delicious too. I love how it kind of flakes off, right? Sure you guys can relate. Pour some hot butter over it. Shit's real good, all right? So we got that. We got the protein, omega-3s. We have phosphorus in both of these. Phosphorus, we think of bones and teeth, but it's also important for maintaining structure and function of really all tissues in the body, right? Even involved in energy metabolism. So that's another important thing to have. Do you take a phosphorus pill every day? No, probably take a multivitamin, right? And, we don't have to worry about getting ample amounts if we just eat whole foods from nature all the time that are rich in vitamins and minerals, and we kind of switch it up throughout the days while keeping some staples week to week, right? And that's the example I talk about here with the seafood, right? I love seafood, but you shouldn't have, say, scallops every single day, albeit I've been loving scallops and having them a decent amount. I'm very careful as to make sure that I have a colorful plate, if I'm going to be relatively redundant in my diet. Try to avoid that in an excessive fashion. So we also got all the B vitamins here, especially in the eggs, and we have high amounts of B3, B6, B12 in cod. B6 and 12 are huge for nerve function. We know that all the B vitamins are cofactors or coenzymes in energy metabolism. B12 plays a major role in red blood cell production. They're important for DNA formation, among many other things, right? And so, good, we're getting a lot of B vitamins here. In fact, actually, we'll talk about that in a second. It's a really, really cool fact about eggs. I'm really excited, so we'll just say it. 2 eggs, okay, provides 10 to 30% of the daily vitamins that the average adult needs. 2 eggs. That's how rich in vitamins they are. But if they're ridden with omega-6s and they're unnatural and they don't have as many of those vitamins and they're not the good pasture-raised eggs, well then I can't say that that's true, right? So the pasture-raised, you're probably up closer to that 30%, which is pretty wild if you ask me, for just 2 eggs. That's awesome. Doesn't mean you should just eat all eggs to have your 100%, right? Vitamins and minerals from other things too, of course. So we have iron and iodine in the eggs. We have all the fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K. And now, we see here that this is loaded with vitamins, it's loaded with protein, it's loaded with healthy omega-3s. And even you have some acetylcholine, some choline, at least we could say, in the egg yolk. Not to mention vitamin D, as we've said, huge for bone health and immunity, but also hormone production and hair and skin and all sorts of things, and mood, right? And we don't get enough from the sun typically, so that's another good thing about the egg yolk here. Try not to cook the yolk and destroy some of these beneficial compounds, right? We want to keep it raw. But you know what's interesting? You don't want to do that with the egg white. You know why? A lot of you probably know this or have heard of this. If you don't denature the proteins in the egg white, you chug raw egg whites. I used to do that before I was more nutrition savvy. They're rich in a protein called avidin, right? And if you don't break down avidin, if you don't denature it properly with heat in the egg white specifically, again, which is pretty much all protein, then it can bind to other useful things in your body and vitamins and minerals and expel them from the body. So it could even lead to things like hair loss, right? So you definitely want to cook the egg whites, but you probably don't want to cook the yolk all too much. Sunny side up, pretty nice, all right? So what else did we have today? Could this really be it? I mean, this is what? Let's go through how many grams of protein we got. We talk about meeting that mark, and I did not think about this before, so give me a second. The cod, I think, was like 18 grams a serving. It might have been less than that. I almost want to go get it. I think it added up to like 120 grams for the whole bag that I had. Whatever. It was something that ballpark, right? And then the eggs, I have 6 or 7 eggs. I don't remember in here, but a good amount. And so say we have, anywhere from 36 to 42 grams of protein there. So say we have 156 to 168 or something like that grams of protein. I'm about 225, right? So to 230. So I would definitely need more than this. I had 40 grams of BCAAs today though, right? So say we were at 160 for, nice easy round numbers here. Then we're at that 200. So what would I have for the rest? And what about the fiber? There's no fiber here. That's not good. We had plenty of fiber before. Make no mistake. And we're going to have a lot more fiber after this. Everybody should be getting about 25 to 50 grams of fiber a day. What? That's a shit ton of fiber. Yeah. Well, not as much as our ancestors had. It's extremely important for your gut microbiome. And we're going to go really deep into gut health in the coming days here. We still have to do that day on leaky gut. We've been somewhat preparing it more so because I think that's a really important day and almost, I mean, you could argue, look at like Mark Hyman's videos, almost every video, MD is great, but huge into nutrition and functional medicine. Almost every disease, it could be caused by poor gut health at some level. You talk about things like autoimmune disease and autism and inflammatory disease, inflammatory bowel, irritable bowel syndrome. You talk about a lot of stuff that mood, depression is guts called your second brain for a reason. So would I just have this for the day? Hell no. I would definitely have a good amount of fiber. So what do we have? Well, before, we were pretty naughty pants and we went off the grid because we were out and we just worked out and we were doing a lot of work. But what? If you're going to be naughty pants, when are you going to do that in terms of food? Right after your workout. But did I do it with really highly processed stuff? No. Well, I got halal. Okay, halal. What are they cooking that in? Probably not the best oils. You shouldn't have that stuff all the time. 3 good oils. Coconut oil, avocado oil, extra virgin olive oil. Not in that order. You'd probably flip that. EVOL, number 1. So when you're cooking, probably opt for avocado or coconut oil, higher smoke points, right? Or just butter, right? Than that. But we stay away from sunflower oil, safflower oil, soybean oil, canola oil, all that kind of crap, right? Grapeseed oil. So, I don't know what they exactly cooked it in, but I had nice chunks of whole chicken, okay? And I got it over brown rice. Why brown over white? That's more soluble fiber, So I got a good amount of brown rice, and I had just worked out, so my body could really use those carbs to replenish glycogen stores, to give me some energy for the next workout, right? So it's putting it to good use. That's really the best time of the day to have all those carbs. And that's why I'm not eating them all right now, right? I haven't worked out for hours and hours. Would it necessarily be super deleterious, effect on your body to have some carbs right now? Well, no, not if they're rich in soluble fiber. It's perfectly fine to have some dark berries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, some onions and leeks and whatever, some, leafy greens, a lot of great prebiotics, things with soluble fiber, even later in the day. But especially if you're going to get any sort of simple carbs, you're going to load up on carbs, and especially, starchy ones, and anything high on the glycemic index would be right after the workout, right? So we had that. Take a bite of this before it gets really cold and I can enjoy some. That's really good. It's easy to eat. I only put salt and pepper on it. I would put garlic when I ran out, so that'd be great too. But I had that. So I got the chicken, and then I got over brown rice mixed with salad. Okay, well they say salad, it's just really lettuce, but at least there's some fiber in there, and some micronutrients. I got double meat. I wanted a lot of extra protein, so double up on the meat. Double up on the grilled chicken. I didn't, get any other crap. And as for the sauce, I just that hot sauce, right? A tiny bit of their white sauce. They call it tzatziki, but I don't know exactly what goes into it, so I just got a very little bit. But again, this is right after the workout. My body's roasting through this. It was the first thing I ate of the day. And, if you don't have that stuff all too often, then that's okay. And what did I do? I balanced it with a really clean, nutrition-dense meal, right? Here. So I'll have this, and then I'm going to get a little more protein and fiber probably within the next, hour or two, while I'm watching Vikings, like the best show ever. And I'm gonna have it's historically accurate, that's pretty cool about it though. I'm gonna have some cottage cheese and some oikos yogurt flavored with stevia. It's really great, right? No antibiotics, hormones, apparently. Can't be too sure unless you create it yourself, but that's what they say. And so that's pretty good. I have that, and then I'll put some dark berries in there: blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, rich in polyphenols, soluble fiber, fantastic gut food, right? So we're gonna pop some of that in there, some steel cut oats, and mix it up. Call it a day, and that's gonna be awesome. Why the cottage cheese at night? Casein protein, slow absorbing protein. Right? So we know that it's a myth that we've debunked here when it's been debunked, but we reference how it's been debunked here at One Wellness that you can only absorb so much protein at a time from a meal. Well, you can have a lot of protein from one meal at a time. They've showed even 80 grams, 100 grams. Specifically, there was one study showing 80, and they absorbed all of it. Right? So do they absorb all of it at once from that meal? Well, no. Body's really intelligent. Is it going to take all this food? Is it going to dump it right into the intestines? Well, no, it's going to promote the release of cholecystokinin, CCK, from the pancreas, a hormone that's going to tell your stomach, we're going to hold on to this food and we're not going to release it into the intestines yet. Delays gastric emptying, as we call it, right? And so I can have a high-protein meal like this, and I'm going to absorb it over the course of hours and hours and hours. Now, and this is not necessarily casein protein, right? So when it comes to the casein, though, it's especially slow absorbing, right? Almost regardless of the amount that you have. And so it makes for a great type to have at night if you're going to have something even relatively close to bedtime. So stimulate muscle protein synthesis, throughout the night. You don't want to eat close to bed in general, right? You don't want to go to bed full, but having a little bit of something like that, if you're hungry and looking for a late night snack, it's a great option. So that's what we got for you guys today. Turned into a lot more than cod and eggs, but what can we say? We absolutely love, I love nutrition, and I think it's something that if it's corrected, it can help to solve so many issues in your life. You have no idea. I've had patients with acne. You see things like autoimmune diseases and eczema, psoriasis. You see inflammatory irritable bowel syndrome, people with depression, people with poor mood, people with all sorts of crap going on, weight gain, they're overweight. You correct their gut health, you correct their gut health and you start eating healthy whole foods from nature, and you really hone in on that nutrition. I'm telling you, so many. I'm not saying I'm going to cure your diseases, but you can cure a lot more than you think by correcting your diet. You absolutely wouldn't believe it. And it's a shame, when you look up online, probably the first thing that comes up are, the medications you can take and Band-Aids and surgical treatments for shit. It's just, but I feel great. I almost never. Dude, you got to do a set of push-ups. See ya.